It's an absolute monster of a game this weekend. Arsenal against Liverpool in the Premier League. This is a monster game, guys. Pippa and Nubaid join me to talk through the game. Let's start with the home team. Let's start with your team, Pippa, Arsenal. We were saying just before we started, the word weird came up. Last year there was a lot of vibes being thrown around. Well, what's happened to the vibes and why has it got weird?
I wish I could put my finger on it. I don't think anyone can at the moment, not even Arteta. It's just not the same power that Arsenal had last season. There was a lot of excitement around, especially around the fan base, and there was a lot of worried opponents thinking, oh, we're going to the Emirates this season. They're a different animal. They're a different beast. But this season, it's just not the same. Although we're still getting results here and there, it's not clicking. We're not firing like I thought we would. You're supposed to get better year on year. And the season that Arsenal had last season was spectacular. Literally just missed out. And you would think that we would improve on that. But there's been no major improvements. But at least they're still there and thereabouts.
Could you put forward the argument that Arsenal are better, they're just more boring?
No.
Would you take that? Or would you rather be worse?
It's such a huge comparison from last season. That last season was entertainment.
But you used the word they're spectacular. This is a great word because I wouldn't say it's boring.
I wouldn't say it's the complete other end and boring now, but it's just not as exciting. It's not boring. Okay. I don't get bored.
I mean, I don't sit down to watch Arsenal like I did last year and go, oh, it's going to be spicy. I sit down and go, it's like a bit like Man City now. Let's just hope we just kill the game at some point with a bit of magic. Although, the counterpoint I would say to that is, if this wasn't Arsenal and this was Liverpool, would you be saying this is title mentality, like they're getting over the line? But because it's Arsenal, I feel like you're going, oh no, we're a bit meek, we're a bit soft.
What do you mean? It's still early days to talk about titles. I mean, it is.
That's why we're here, Pippa.
No, but it's still January. But this is obviously a big clash that you want.
As in, oh look, we're not even in the title race yet, we're out of the title race.
We're not out of the title race. You're not out of the title race. But it's too early to talk about competing for actually going on and winning the league.
I feel like most people feel like you're finished.
No,
it's weird.
We are not finished.
Yeah. What, broadly? I disagree, massively.
I have heard that, but it's how can we be finished? We're still just behind Liverpool and no, we're not finished.
I think part of the weirdness is a lack of goals.
Yeah.
Last 5 games, 8 goals scored, 7 goals conceded. For Liverpool, without Mohamed Salah, which I think, again, maybe a month or so ago, we thought, okay, Arsenal is now the time where, you're being a little bit cautious, you're controlling these games. Is it now that you kick on? Your Christmas was a bit weird, as we've said. For Liverpool, it's just free-flowing, scoring goals, finding Trent replacements from nowhere. They are flying right now.
And I've said this from the get-go, I don't think Liverpool win the league, but this feels like the season when Liverpool won the league, where you can plug and play anyone. You know when the feeling's good, Conor Bradley's come in, with no disrespect to him, from a loan move at Bolton, and he's called back as an emergency, and I'm looking at him going, hey Trent, you might not get back in the team, fella.
It's insane.
He will, but you sub him off and you go, we've just lost a bit of Bradley. That didn't exist when Trent first got injured. We were thinking we're going to miss him more than Salah. So I think the feeling currently is that McAllister's playing as a 6 and he's dominating midfield and winning tackles. You know when you're winning, it's very nice and easy to plug and play players in. That's what Liverpool were like when they won the league, and that's what it feels like at the moment.
I would give them more credit than the plug and play element of it. I think I was watching the game against Chelsea and I'm thinking, that shouldn't, the money that's on that Chelsea side of the pitch, and you got this lad Conor Bradley just absolutely tearing it up, and a lot of other guys who are, they've spent money. Of course they have Liverpool, but it's very, very well put together by Jurgen Klopp.
I think the tactical elements of the team are definitely at a higher level than they've ever been. I don't think I've seen Klopp be so tactically flexible. At times, Harvey Elliott's come in and played in that right inside midfield. But one of the players that I looked at in that particular game was Szoboszlai, who's been criticised a lot for his time in possession. But out of possession, 3 of the goals come from Szoboszlai making a diagonal run into the box, like a sort of like a box crashing midfielder, which Liverpool have not had. So think back to Henderson and Gino Wijnaldum and Fabinho. Liverpool have never had a box crashing midfielder. Suddenly they've used that as the vehicle to allow that right hand space to open up. So then when you bring in Conor Bradley and you go, listen mate, you just need to hang wide and put balls into the box. His execution has been outstanding. It becomes easier when you now have space because your right side midfielder is making runs. Curtis Jones is dropping in, and there's just a sense of control in games. We'll always concede chances. It's an absolute given when you play a high line like that. but then the cheat code is you've got Alisson goal. So
Yeah.
there's little elements that Liverpool are sort of leaning into tactically that they haven't done before.
And the renaissance of Joe Gomez on that left-hand side as well, who again really helps Conor Bradley. Obviously, there's been so much chat this week about Xabi Alonso coming in, and then you're thinking about how they're going to play. And I did a video talking about Frimpong, who's the player for Leverkusen who bombs on. You're thinking, well, Trent doesn't really do that. It's almost like Klopp's like starting to like put the pieces together for him to just pick it up. But a back four with Bradley and Joe Gomez in that side, you wouldn't expect the flow that you are seeing with this team. And I think that's when it comes to these two teams, I think the important thing, and I guess the olive branch for Arsenal when that fans are feeling a bit sort of woeful about getting the title, is that you only get 3 points for a win. So you just got to keep sort of being in and amongst it. And it would be an amazing story that you would be sort of clunky throughout the season and then kick off in March, for it to be the total opposite of the last couple of years. The fact that Liverpool are scoring so many goals without Mohamed Salah, 12 big chances created since Salah's last game, and in his last game it was a 4-2 win against Newcastle. He got a brace, he got an assist in that game, so he is very important. Why have you been able to sort of keep scoring so many goals? I think everyone thought there would be a bit of a problem there.
In all fairness, I do think we're clunky going forward. I don't think it's fluid. And I think when Salah plays, it's a little more fluid because he's the go-to creator. What it has meant is that Liverpool are now leaning on Jota, and his individual quality is unbelievable in front of goal. We did do a video last week on, in fact it was early this week, Haaland, Son or Jota, so go and watch that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Darwin separately. But then you have Gakpo and Luis Diaz who's chipping in with goals. I think the fear was never would they score goals. I think the fear was would they score enough while Salah's been out. And I think all of them have chipped in at exactly the right time. Jota's got 2 here and there. Darwin's got 2 here and there. So weirdly, I said this when Salah actually went off to AFCON. The player we'd miss more is Trent. I just said it earlier. And because we've plugged that gap, it's now actually like, oh, we're actually quite all right.
Yeah, scored 14 goals, conceded 4 in that time. Some easier games than others, and again, I think over the Christmas period, it's always you always seem to have a lot of tired legs, and I think often in that period, Liverpool seem to do quite well at sort of hurting those teams. I do think as well that the final thing on Conor Bradley and Salah is that if you had Salah and Conor Bradley wouldn't have that space to go into because Jota will kind of make his way a bit more centrally, and I think that's worked really well in this scenario. Coming to the game itself, Arsenal were good, you know. Is anyone? I know we haven't really touched on that enough. It does feel, and again, we did a show on Monday, and we were going, Villa are really good at home. Newcastle are in disarray. There's only one way this goes, and I've got a feeling this because it feels like it's so much a game for Liverpool because of the flow that they have.
Yeah.
I've got a funny feeling about Arsenal.
I mean, I would love to be on the same wavelength that you are, but it's one of those games that you come into and just you look at the current form of both teams, and you just expect Liverpool to dominate Arsenal at the Emirates. Even though on the back of the Nottingham Forest win, like you said, it wasn't the most convincing performance from Arsenal. There was something missing from their attack in play. Even though they got the 2 goals eventually in the second half, Arsenal take a long time to break through. And you don't have that time against teams like Liverpool, especially in the form that they're in now. And like you said, with the new back line that I wouldn't say experimenting with because it's not really experimenting, it's working. But like, it's not going to be an easy feat for Arsenal to do that at home. And like we saw in the last game where they managed to score 5 goals at the Emirates against Crystal Palace, 2 of those goals come from a centre-back. And to be fair, in terms of the tactics, I remember watching some tactical analysis on that game, and it was very smart of Gabriel Jesus to draw the players out of position to get Gabriel to get in there, big, bold player, and get his head on the ball. But can we do that against Liverpool? I'm not entirely sure.
Played all right against Liverpool in the Cup. As well, I think that's the other thing to remember, but did lose. And actually, I mean, it's a great example of that. Arsenal are generally dominating most games that they play. They're just not getting enough goals to sort of get away from the variability of football. Prediction time, Nubaid, what are we saying?
I think it'll be 1-1. I think Liverpool are running hot, but I've said all season, we've said all season, Arsenal are really hard to beat in those big games, so I think it'll be 1-1.
Okay.
Cannot call it. It burns me to say that I think it'll be a
Liverpool
Liverpool win.
You are here and being paid to call it.
I'm going to say, I think it'll be a 2-1 Liverpool.
Yeah?
Pippa, have some faith in your boys.
Unfortunately.
You didn't have faith in your boys.
Where's your faith? 1-1
home, you know?
On the fence, 1-1. And also, can I just say, you mentioned earlier, I wanted to pick up on that. You said that Liverpool won't win the league. Why?
I've said it all season, and I still think...
Is that a gameplay? Yeah, that's game plan.
We said it at the start of this season.
I've said they are going to win it now.
You changed your prediction.
I'm allowed to change my mind. I think that... Yeah, I think it'll be a draw as well. I think it is still a really good Arsenal side, and I think that often in the games where you think Liverpool definitely win this game, especially in those big games, they've actually struggled with those ones, and I think that will be the case here. So I'm also going to go for a 1-0, but I don't support either team, so I've got it exactly right. What do you think? Let us know.